This is Memoir Narration. The world around me was chaos. Between the rattling in the windows, the bickering between siblings, and the snoring of friends, there was no such thing as quiet. But for some reason, I felt as though I was in a state of immense peace. Through the shock of this noble mobile home and a rocky sea of bright red brimstone, I find myself thoroughly happy. I'm excited for the week ahead, and I quite truthfully haven't felt this steady in a very long time. Lake Powell isn't the prettiest, and it sure isn't the easiest vacation available within an 11-hour drive. But I'll be sent off in cuffs for murder before I ever agree with anyone that it isn't the happiest goddamn place on earth. I've been almost every year since birth, but in this shoddy recreational vehicle, it will be my first time back in over 4 years. So long away from home can ravage the memories and enlarge the gap between dreams and reality, yet it was my idea. I had brought it up to my mom only a month earlier that we really should go. I had finished high school, and as a family, we had spent months isolated in a house away from the world, oftentimes going days or weeks without seeing anyone outside of our immediate gene pool. I figured the best remedy of such would be to lock ourselves and 20 others in a houseboat that spanned 75 feet from bow to stern. What a wonderful idea. Suddenly, the already deafening crunch of gravel roads and arguing family had increased to threat-level tinnitus. My little brother removed the tape holding the windows to the wall and strong-headedly screeched the glass back to reveal that we had arrived. I'm woken to the sounds of chugging motors and whining children. I roll out of my hammock and into the open air of our first morning on this 8-day trip. I clamber down the stairs and pull back a screen door that's probably older than I am. For breakfast, we have freezer-burned burritos, scaldingly hot on the outside and impossibly cold inside. It's a tragic telltale sign that there's no care for the trip anymore. The adults who used to run this mighty vessel are now grayed out, developing their own barnacles and wrinkles as they age beyond their prime. Now their kids are just barely short of becoming seaworthy themselves and are unaware of what to do. Having been taken care of for so long, there's an expectation from the young, of the old, to do all the work, and no drive to earn their own share. I sit with plenty of people my age this trip for feeding time, but I don't know where they came from now or where they went last night when it was time to load the boat with bags and drinks. I didn't mind the loading process, as the mile-long hike from boat to dock offered wheelbarrows and the tranquil sounds of waves crashing into rocks, boats, and docks. Besides, the first day of Lake Powell is a travel day. For hours on end, the houseboat makes its steady way down the channel to a sort of pre-planned spot. Our watery campsite was in the Cookie Jar, a landmark that offered long beaches to play on and calm waters to anchor in. After a long day of navigation and travel, we jumped ship and were finally able to dig our toes in the sand, or at least the kids were. After finishing their day naps and lounge sessions, the younger half of our group ran to swim and jump off the back of the houseboat. Meanwhile, those who had already done their share of driving and map pointing were put in charge of carrying firewood up the beach and readying dinner. I was involved in this group as I had already been declared silently as a worker for the trip. Despite that we all paid the same physical price and cash to attend, I had signed myself up to do all the hard work, as I obviously wasn't smart or cruel enough to just let someone else do it. The unfortunate part of this trip was its dramatic age range. When you have kids as young as 10 and adults as old as late 60s, you lose the ability to split work evenly. No one wants to make grandpa carry shit, and no one's going to let the kids drive the boat. So that leaves less people to split the responsibility of making sure all goes well. It was a cruel system, but it was one I'd freeloaded off of for 18 years, and this was my retribution in a way. But it sure didn't soothe the pain of watching my vacation transform into a working business trip. Day 2 played out the same way, if not worse. Before rolling out of my hammock and into the hot air of my first full day in our lake spot, I was being thrown around by the wind. During night, the wind speeds were fast enough to throw an 180-pound kid back and forth in his hammock, the motion of which was similar to that of a porch swing, but if that porch swing had a motorcycle engine and hatred pushing it along. So after getting about 30 minutes of sleep over the course of 8 hours, I came into consciousness and began my day. Breakfast was a warm, slimy, snot-like breakfast casserole that really, really wanted to nail the viscosity of hot mud. So after having hot egg soup and cleaning the 18 burnt dishes used to prepare this grand ogre feast, I began preparing lunch. It was only sandwiches, and they aren't that complex. Just get out the bread, and there's gluten-free bread, and also the pepperoni and salami and capicola, but don't forget the 3 different mustards, and someone wanted lettuce on their sandwich. Who was it that wanted lettuce? Well, I don't know, but I do know the kids don't want crust on their sandwiches. Okay, well, let's cut off the crust, and now everyone has their own sandwich. Well, that was pretty easy. And it's dinner time. Day 3 and 4 happened just like the first 2. Early breakfasts that offer little joy or comfort, clean up till noon, a lunch that offers food which varies wildly in both temperature and texture, and finally a nice dinner coming with too little, too late. It feels as if I'm blacking out while the fun stuff happens, then wake up only to remorse about missing it. It feels tragic and unfair. It's no matter if I keep telling myself, however, I always have tomorrow, right? But that's the same train of thought I keep boarding and crashing in. No matter how many times I get burned, I continue to run back, punch my ticket, and wait for the same event to happen, expecting a different outcome. Once more, I stir out of my blanket in the air, suspended by rope and clip. I slide my way down the stairs and into the main kitchen. It's my day today. I'm not doing a damn thing for anyone else in this damn boat. I don't even plan to make my own damn breakfast. Someone else can do it. But I'll be damned if things go my way. I look out to the front of the boat and realize the beach we've been parked on isn't there anymore. The little tent 40 feet up on the shore also isn't where it's supposed to be. Instead, it's rolled up and in its to-go bag. Which means this silly little piggy forgot what day it is. It's moving day. With what should be only a couple-hour cruise back to the dock, our trip is over and there's a breath of fresh air. As much as I love this place, I could use a little bit of stability. Or at least it was. The portside engine had a wee little oopsie and fundamentally imploded on itself. The starboard motor was already running poorly since the trip began and just had its prop replaced while in the water. The person to put the prop back on also couldn't screw it on just right because while one of his hands was holding the 15-pound wrench required to tighten the bolt, the other hand was tasked with the important role of keeping his 9 a.m. Keystone Light out of the water. This all translates to the weatherman forgot to forecast the grand almighty shitstorm that approaches over yonder. But it's okay. It's okay because it's Lake Powell. This kind of stuff happens every year, always has, and probably always will. It is unfortunate, however, because no matter how bad the shit gets, no one ever wants to deal with the problem. Before the crisis is even done unfolding, the boat has resorted to a verbal game of hot potato. The giant smoking problem in the room is tossed quickly from person to person in a desperate dodge of responsibilities. That is until it falls in my hands and I just can't let go. If this event unfolds poorly, no one will ever return to Lake Powell. My odds of coming back will be the same as the engine magically uncrumpling and beginning to chug again. I hold on to the hot problem Tato and sit behind the driver's wheel of the houseboat. I begin to steer wildly through the no-wake zones, around and through other docks, and finally into our parking slip in Wallweed Marina. When I stand up to use the restroom, it's the first time I've stretched my legs in over 9 hours. I empty my bladder, enjoy leftover food, and lay in my hammock. For the first time since being here, I fall asleep within minutes. My body is exhausted, and my brain has been juiced like a lime on margarita night. Within moments, I wake up, but it's bright outside now. Everyone is rolling their cots and packing bags. It's time to go home. The other home. I'm somber, but there's a harsh reality check in play here. Somehow, Lake Powell has lost its magic. In fact, the only magic to be witnessed was how the 11-hour drive felt longer than the 7-day trip. But I feel at peace with myself, more than I did on my way here, and more than I have on a Lake Powell trip in a long, long time. It was a vacation I felt I earned in a way. I look back and realize I had more fun than I thought. My brain was hard stuck on remembering all the cooking I had to do, and not the time I almost hit 50 miles per hour on a jet ski, or how I found an old houseboat that had run out of water and was resting 30 feet up on a beach. The long haul home was like the burning of a candle. Its duration was long, but offered an inner warmth. All my other trips to Lake Powell were overwhelmingly fun, just 8 straight days of jumping, swimming, screaming, and eating, all of which were forgotten in about a month. But now, almost a year later, I find it to be my favorite trip. There's stories to tell and jokes that never could have come to fruition if it weren't for scalding sludge breakfasts and painful, blistering sunburns. Lake Powell is like a big arena, testing your wits and patience in exchange for the most memorable moments of your life. Anywhere in the world you can go sunbathe on a beach, play in the water, but only in Lake Powell are you forced to earn it. And I feel as though I did.